Halfway through his meal, the prisoner suddenly has a bold idea. Seeing the guard isn't paying attention, he quietly rubs his spoon against the sole of his shoe until it gets dirty, then casually calls over a guard, saying his spoon is dirty and needs a new one. His cellmate instantly catches on and makes the same request. Seeing how serious they both look, the guard doesn't suspect a thing and agrees. However, this one slip-up will lead to one of the greatest prison breaks in history. When the two swagger up to the counter, his buddy deliberately keeps the guard talking non-stop. Once he's successfully distracted, the man quickly grabs a new spoon, but no one notices he actually took two. But a spoon alone isn't nearly enough to escape. He needs to make more useful tools. The next day, for the price of 10 desserts, he gets an old con with connections to score him some supplies. Once everything's ready, the man snaps the spoon in half, then takes apart the nail clippers, uses a file to grind a coin into powder, then pieces together the spoon handle with the disassembled metal, then sprinkles powder at the joint, and lights a bundle of matches. Using the intense heat from the thermite reaction, he successfully welds the two pieces of metal together. Just like that, a handy escape tool is ready to go. To test how well it works, the man quickly starts digging at the wall. Sure enough, with the tool's help, efficiency skyrockets, and the wall from years of neglect has deteriorated pretty badly, so it chips away really easily, but he completely fails to notice a guard walking this way, and Charlie, who's supposed to be on lookout, has dozed off at this critical moment. Luckily, the prisoner next door greets the guard. Hearing the noise, the man reacts fast and quickly grabs a suitcase to cover the hole. After dumping the debris into the toilet, he hurries back to bed, but in his rush he carelessly drops the file on the floor. He wants to quickly pick it up, but the guard has already reached the door. The man has no choice but to nervously chat with him. Fortunately, this guard is nearsighted and doesn't see the file on the floor. After he leaves, the man thanks his cellmate, then gets back to work with renewed focus. Before long, the hole is dug to an ideal size, just big enough for the man to crawl through. But now an even bigger challenge appears. The iron grating is welded to two metal bolts. Even using all his strength, the man can't pry it open by hand, unless he has the right tool. The next day, on his way to the woodshop, when the guard isn't looking, he dumps all the dirt and debris from his pockets. Then while inside, he makes a wooden wedge, planning to use it to remove the bolts on either side of the grating. But how can he get past the metal detector? Of course, that's no problem for a guy with an IQ of 150. When the guard checks him, he deliberately pulls out the wedge, saying it's for hanging clothes. But the guard still confiscates the wedge, except he's actually got another one hidden under his shoe. The man wedges it into the bolt. Now all he needs to do is kick it open. Then the iron grating comes off just like that, nice and easy. He can't wait to stick his head out, and finds this leads straight to the top of the cell block. But there's also a problem. If he wants to climb in, he'll need to make the hole bigger. Of course, the damaged wall will be easy to spot, and the patrol frequency here is pretty high. Guards can tell at a glance if someone's in the cell or not, but none of this stumps him. He soaks torn newspaper in water until it's wet, mixes wall dust with water to make clay, and quickly fashions a square box, then gets some paint and brushes from his neighbor. In no time, a realistic-looking air vent is complete. Next, he takes out the head he molded and paints it flesh-colored, pulls out hair he swiped from the barbershop, and looking at himself in the mirror, glues on the eyebrows and hair. Though it looks pretty rough, once it's tucked under the covers, it can actually pass as real. With everything ready, the man decides to scout ahead solo. He crawls through the vent into the wall cavity, then carefully climbs up along the pipes. But right then, a guard suddenly comes to check the cells. His cellmate quickly bangs on the bars to warn him, but the man can't hear anything. The guard stops at the man's cell and observes for a moment, but doesn't realize it's actually a dummy in the bed. Meanwhile, the man has already climbed up the pipes to the top floor. Just when he thinks he can climb up to the roof through the shaft, he discovers there's another iron grating at the vent opening, and it's quite a ways off the ground. Before he can figure out a solution, that same guard comes back around. He notices carefully the man hasn't rolled over once in his sleep, which makes him suspicious. Meanwhile, the lookout buddy next door is freaking out because he knows the person in bed is fake. The next second, the guard reaches his hand toward it,